Hey guys, in this video we'll be going over all of the Vow of the Disciple data mine information, exotics, bosses, all that stuff. So if you don't want to be spoiled, please click away from this video. But other than that, let's get right into the meat of it, because we got a lot of information here that's been data mined about the Vow of the Disciple raid, which I gotta admit is probably one of the most anticipated raids that I cannot wait to go and play, dude. So I can't wait to play this day one, of course, which I will be streaming this Saturday if you guys are interested. So please subscribe and ring the bell if you wanna, watch me do it live, because I'm probably gonna do bad, or maybe I'll get day one, who knows. But let's get right into the meat of it. So to start off, let's get into the bosses of the Vow of the Disciple raid. The first one we called the Scorn caretaker, which we will see in the middle to the second encounter of the raid. And this boss is like amazing. This boss has been dialed up to 11. It looks amazing. One of the most badass bosses I've seen since like the Taken King. But definitely a really cool one, as it's like a mix of an ogre and in a way it's just the Scorn ogre that we usually see. This has just been like all the way like more edited, more mutated in a way, and like all the way overgrown into like a huge ass emperor, even the size of Callus, if you want to say the least, as actually some people actually think this is actually Callus that it was mutated by, but we will see as we get closer to the raid. But yeah, definitely a sick boss. Now the second boss and the final boss, of course, on the last encounter of the Vow of the Disciple raid will be called the First Disciple. Now we see a lot of photos of this guy, and I gotta admit, one of the best bosses we've ever seen. I understand everyone loves Taniks, and I get that, but this boss really is one of the coolest bosses, because the Scorn vibe and the Spikes vibe and all the vibes that go into the correlation with the armor that I did in my one of my older videos, and just the way how it matches up with it, and just how well they made just the way he way he looks, and how he just has this amazing Scorn blade. I'm not really sure if it's a Scorn blade, but Darkness blade if you want to keep it like that. So let's get into the encounters with the raid. So we're going to first load in, and there will be the barge encounter to begin off. We will have this before we even enter into the pyramid, so something probably similar to like the Sparrow encounter that we saw in the Deep Stone Crypt at the very beginning. So something probably very small, or maybe something a little bit bigger than we can think of. It might not take us a lot of time. Maybe something similar to maybe Vogue in a way at the very beginning. As soon as we get into the pyramid, we will have another encounter area that you will need to complete going into it. So something probably similar to like maybe getting into like the Deep Stone security, some other encounter, that other small minor encounter that you might see as soon as you get into the raid. And I don't think, this encounter will not have a boss either. So the first two don't even have a boss. It's probably just going to be killing ads and doing some objectives, maybe finding secrets. It's still very unclear what these encounters will have in correlation to their mechanics, but we'll find out as soon as we get to day one. The next encounter will be the Scorn caretaker, as it will bring us to the first boss. Now this is called the Archive encounter. Something very intriguing to know that it is called the Archive Last Stand Begins, and then the encounter completed. So we will find out what these mean, but it's going to be probably something to do with like you have to do stages of this encounter, and then there's going to be a last stage, similar to maybe if you played Gatekeeper. At the very end there's like a last stage. Then after that, we will have players will enter a transversal space to the origin, and a jumping puzzle begins. And this is cool because, like, if you play Taken King, there was a jumping puzzle in that. Deep Stone Crypt didn't really have a crazy jumping puzzle, but Taken King had one of the best ones. So it will be awesome to see one will at least be in this raid, and it will be very cool. As soon as that's done, we will have a origin encounter, which will probably be another minor encounter, maybe something similar to Descent from the Deep Stone Crypt, something, again, minor. And then this will give us access to the final boss, the First Disciple, and that, as soon as you complete that, will finish off the raid. So, of course, like 5 encounters in total, but that's still a lot of encounters that we've seen, because I believe Deepstone Crypt only came out with 4, and Garden, I believe, came out with 4. So we'll be already a little bit bigger than Deepstone Crypt and Garden. So definitely a little bit bigger of a raid, but it's definitely going to come down to the quality of the raid, of course, before you can be like, okay, it's going to be much better. But it already looks, by the bosses and by how it looks, it's just amazing so far. Let's move on to the Raid Exotic Collective Obligation. Now, a couple days ago when I made my video on it, I just made a quick video on how to get it, of course being the Raid Exotic, but I didn't get to go in more detail into it. Now we know some more info, as that it will be an aggressive pulse rifle, and that its exotic perk is that it will release void debuffs such as suppression, weakening, and volatile. Once charged, you can swap firing modes and deal damage that applies the same void debuffs. It will also have an ornament and a catalyst that will probably be going in at a later date. But going into the void debuffs part of this exotic would definitely be very unique, as this is a void season, and I would never bet that they would make the Raid Exotic something similar to what's going on, as I would think it would be more like an Striga poison type thing, or maybe an exotic heavy. But now it being an exotic pulse rifle, actually, with the first exotic pulse rifle that we've ever gotten in years, as the last one, I believe, the newest exotic pulse rifle was like Vigilant Swing and Graviton Lance back all the way in year 1 of Destiny 2. So again, a new pulse rifle, and it does void damage in the Witch Queen expansion. Probably something you would never expect, but definitely something interesting to look at, as it will be like suppression and volatile is definitely something unique, as it will be able to swap firing modes. Definitely gives me good vibes that this exotic will probably be a very intriguing one that people will use in PvE and maybe even in PvP. Some final tidbits for the raid is that there will be 10 collectibles in this raid, with them rewarding a exotic ghost shell. This seems to be 9 raid mod, and of course we went over all the weapons in a previous video if you want to go check that out. But I believe there will be 6 weapons in total, and this will be the first time a glaive will be in the raid, which will be really cool to have a raid glaive that you'll be able to go and craft eventually in the future. So then lastly, let's get into the main story. So basically, the pyramid ship presumably activates and opens up, and we're sent to investigate it. So that's the very beginning. That's how it's probably going to open up. And then the story of it is that we have to kill the disciple. The Scorn are trying to increase their power by using hive ruins combined with worm lava, and the Scorn caretaker seems to be one of them. Amaro also similarly does something during the raid. Scorn during the raid, or after the first disciple's death, and might start using hive magic. Amaro voice lines seem to indicate the pyramid ship will shoot at us randomly. Amaro presumably will take more of the reins instead of being just a small character in the campaign. So Amaro is probably not going to have any, ending to the story for a while, as he will probably have some significance in the raid story. It'll be kind of cool, as this will probably activate the last side quest for the evidence board if you are interested in getting your exotic glaives, which will be really cool to have that as soon as the raid's done. But definitely in a very interesting raid, and I cannot wait to go and see what this raid is all about. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you guys did, then please subscribe and like, because it would mean a lot. Other than that, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.